O11 Air is finally here. It's received a lot of hype for good reasons. I've also been really wanting to work in something like this and put in as many fans in here as possible and build like an airflow focus system, because with the dynamic, while it was beautiful and received a lot of good attention for good reasons, make sure to check out all the content that we made out over here. It was mainly like you put in the radiator system in there, maybe a custom loop, while the air in the name obviously indicates its particular focus for airflow focus systems. Airflow focused, air focused, too many focus air. But I am concerned because while the chassis is pretty wide to accommodate for that dual chamber design, the main chamber where the system sits is pretty slim, and we only have 155 millimeters of CPU tower clearance. That means many enthusiast air coolers will not fit in here, like Noctua's NHD U14, many Be Quiet's tower coolers like the Dark Rock Pro 4 and just the 4 one, because they're slightly taller at 160 millimeters, and so having that additional 5 millimeters would really accommodate for that enthusiast airflow market. But now you have a bit of a compromise here because you have to look for a slightly shorter CPU tower. And just to clarify, the dynamic and the air are basically the exact same case, so any limitations that we're talking about today about the CPU cooler height also applies with the dynamic, because it's an identical internal structure, only the exterior differences, plus we have the additional fans at the front there. And you can check out our full review for the dynamic right over here, where we go a lot more in depth about everything else that we might not cover in this video, so make sure to check it out. And now it all makes sense why Lian Li sent over the Cryorig H7, because none of the coolers that I have would fit, and this does. It's only 145 millimeters because initially I'm air cooling my 8700K or Ryzen CPU. Obviously I want to use something beefier like this Dark Rock Pro 4. It's nice, but it's just way too tall for the case. That's unfortunate. So let us analyze right after this. Evolve with the times. Consider NVMe storage today. The new RC100 brings affordable NVMe storage into your hands with various capacities in this super compact form factor that plugs directly into your motherboard. It's extremely power efficient and utilizes Toshiba's advanced 3D flash memory for awesome speeds, so you can be a happy user. The RC100 by Toshiba, the NVMe drive to consider. Check it out below. Alright, so the O11 Air comes in two variants. The standard model that comes with two 120mm fans, it goes for $129, which is the exact same price as the Dynamic. So there is no compromise of which one you want to choose. If you want to go with something a bit more airflow focused versus something more elegant with the Dynamic, this is your pick. But then there's the second version, the RGB one, that comes with three 120mm fans that are RGB, that have this aluminum frame. These are the BR Lite 120. So the RGB version is $149, which is a $20 premium for three additional fans for a total of 5, which is awesome because you can mount those 3 fans potentially at the front to have that nice glow, or the top, or the side, or the bottom, and still have 2 additional fans that you can mount anywhere else on the case. It's a pretty decent deal for a total of 5 fans, but I have something else in mind.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so those fans cost more than the case itself, but when your focus is airflow, you gotta go with Noctua. Now from a design perspective, it is warming up to me, but I was hoping for slightly more color variation in the entire body, because it's all black, and there is a bit of a discrepancy between the matte black plastic and the slightly shiny metal. It would be awesome to have like darker gray grills over here so that it has a little bit of extra pop and potentially emphasize that airflow angle. But you are paying the exact same price of $129 for the Dynamic or the Air, so there is no price incentive to choose one over the other. However, with the Air, while you do get additional plastic here, while you get metal and glass on the Dynamic, you do have additional fans at the front, while the Dynamic has no fans at all. But the two cases share the exact same internal structure, which is awesome. So no surprises there, aside from the Air having a new bracket at the front to support those front fans. And so, dual chamber design. The main motherboard area has eATX motherboard support. I do love those angular rubber grommets on the side. So if you have sleeved cable extensions, the 24-pin cable, angle can look really good there. There's plenty of space above the motherboard for radiator and set of fans, plus the rubber grommet to route any cables that you need there. At the back, we have a power supply that is angled towards the side panel. You can also remove the hard drive to accommodate for a second power supply. The cable cover can support additional storage and also cover all your cables there. They have added additional holes for the back of the case to mount 80mm fans. You can mount 2 of them, so you can have additional exhaust. And overall, this case is really meant to have this like playground of airflow and how you want to mount and where you want to mount those fans. So front intake, the side intake or exhaust, top intake or exhaust, bottom most likely intake, and the rear exhaust as well. And so this means that all sides, the top, the front, the bottom, and the side support a 360mm radiator, and you can mount a 280 rad at the top or the front. So airflow options are plenty, and in my dynamic configuration, I mounted 9 fans. You can check out the results of the temperatures there. But with the air, we have 3 additional intakes, so you can mount 12 fans total, plus 2 additional 80mm fans at the back. That is pretty insane. So now, it's time to build my ultimate airflow system with those Noctuas. Build is finished, and I think the system looks absolutely awesome with these Noctua fans. I don't mind the color variation between the brown fans and the rest of the system because I'm not adding any RGB strips in there, so you know, having that additional like one component from your hardware that kind of stands out, it's nice because they're all uniform and stuff. And I even disabled the LED RGB on the cooler because it just didn't make sense. I then used cable mod sleeved extensions to demonstrate that beautiful bend from the side rubber grommets because we're not adding any lighting, and these extensions just add that one extra premium element. I love it. But if you are going for some form of like RGB element through fans, keep in mind that illumination will be hidden from the angle, and so when I installed my Enermax TB RGB fans, because of that beautiful ring illumination, they shine right through the front, which is awesome. So just keep that in mind when you know, assembling your own system and potentially adding RGB lighting or fans. And you can check out cable mod extensions and the Enermax RGB fans down in the description below. Now, just to come back to this whole conversation about CPU tower compatibility with the O11 Air, I mounted my Pure Rock from Be Quiet. It's a really good tower. It's supposed to be 155mm in height, which is perfect for this case. However, I was still having issues with the glass panel interfering with the top heat pipe stoppers, which got me thinking, is Pure Rock or Be Quiet advertising their spec wrong? Is the CPU tower actually taller than 155mm, or is Lian Li in the wrong by not including exact dimensions for their CPU tower height compatibility? So after measuring the CPU tower, it is in fact Be Quiet's fault. They are not advertising their correct spec for the Pure Rock, potentially many other coolers, who knows, but the top of the heat pipe is what goes beyond the 155mm, and that is an issue because it's misleading customers. It does not advertise the true height of the coolers, and moving forward where cases are getting smaller, you need that precision, and I'm quite disappointed that it's not coming from Be Quiet, who are known for German engineering. And this got me thinking, because my smaller Cryorig H7 cooler that actually fits inside the enclosure, it cannot adequately cool my overclocked 8700K, and therefore we have to compromise. So I have to speed up my fans to full speed, about 2000 RPM, and I have to lower my clock speeds on the CPU. My system becomes quite loud. Now granted, it is a $35 cooler. It is pretty affordable. Purchase links are in the description below, but it is only one of the few that actually fits inside this enclosure. So you might have to re-strategize, potentially going with all-in-one coolers or a custom loop inside the O11 Air. Now, as for airflow testing, Steve from Gamers Nexus pointed out that the dust filter was a choking point for airflow, and I've experienced the same thing. You know, you can see the CPU and GPU temperatures are higher when the dust filter is installed, and this is running at full speed with those beautiful, amazing Noctua fans. So the difference, it will definitely be higher you know, the delta between the CPU and GPU temperatures with lower quality fans when the dust filter is installed, so keep that in mind. And so if you do have the itch for the O11 series, the Air is a fantastic option. Just have to keep in mind with the CPU cooler tower height limitations, and that additional front intake definitely could be used for radiators or an all-in-one cooler that could deliver that additional fresh air that we did not see with the dynamic version. Now, one last thing I want to mention with the front panel is that the pegs that are attached to the actual frame are pretty short, so actually attaching the front panel is a little bit more difficult. And also the front I/O, which has a Type-C port Gen 2, which is awesome, that get also stuck in between the frame and the plastic, so you have to align them properly and also be careful not to turn the system on when doing so. And so to conclude, I think I got overly excited about the O11 Air, thinking that's going to be like the next unique airflow enclosure, and while it is, you just have to approach it with those limitations in mind. But seeing that you cannot mount any of the most popular, even like mid-range air coolers inside here, what is the point? Then you have to reconsider, go with an all-in-one cooler and take advantage of that additional front intake. I still love this dual chamber layout and hope to see more like it, and just how much cooling it can house in such a tiny enclosure. But guys, I'm Dmitry, thanks so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe to our new boot sequence channel and check out this other relevant content. Let me know what you think of the O11 Air and how, you know, potentially you want to go with that or the dynamic. Yeah, see you later.